What is up, guys? Rick Hackus here, and in today's video we are discussing The Division and an idea that I think would greatly improve the game in the long run. Now, that idea is the introduction of Infusion into The Division. Now, Infusion is actually a mechanic from Destiny, and it was introduced along with the introduction of the light level system. Now, light levels in Destiny are pretty similar to gear score in The Division. They basically represent your power as a character. The higher light level and the higher gear score you have, the more powerful generally your character is. Now, Infusion again was a mechanic that was introduced into Destiny along with the light level system. And how Infusion works is that it lets you actually take your older and less substantial light level gear and actually infuse it upwards to higher light levels. Now, an example of this would be if you have a 330 light sniper rifle that you just really love. And right now the max light level in Destiny is 335. Now, if you really like this 330 sniper, it has the best roll, has the best scopes, everything about it you love to use, well, you can actually keep using it. Because what you can do is that if you get a shotgun that actually does have the max light level of 335, you can actually sacrifice this 335 light shotgun and turn your 330 light sniper rifle into a 335 light sniper rifle. So it lets you raise the light level. Essentially in the Division, it would be as if you could raise the gear score of your older items. Now, why is this important? Why would you want to be able to raise the gear score of your items in the Division just like how you can raise the light level through Infusion in Destiny? Well, doing so would actually make a very big impact in the game because it would no longer mean that your gear is totally useless every time the gear score is raised. Right now, in the Division, with no Infusion or Infusion-like mechanic, every time the gear score is increased with a new DLC, and this very recently happened with the release of the Underground DLC on the Xbox One, all of your current gear that you've grinded for, that you've done all of this stuff for, immediately becomes less good than all of the gear currently in the game. Now, of course, this does make sense. You want the new gear to be good, and you want people to have a reason to play the game and work towards earning that new desirable loot. I have no problem with that. But the problem does become that it's pretty frustrating when your current build is outdated in a single day. And a lot of players will become frustrated because they've grinded and grinded and grinded for finally getting a good roll on, let's say, a Vector submachine gun, and now it's no longer good because you want to go and get the higher gear score, more damaging SMGs that have just come out with a new DLC or new patch. Having all of your gear that you've grinded for instantly become not as good is a frustrating thing. Now, Destiny used to have this as well. Like, people bag on the Division, but Destiny had a lot of the same problems, but it was able to address these problems over time. In Destiny, in the past, when a new DLC came out, when the Dark Below DLC came out, all of your gear overnight became useless, and this was really frustrating, but they figured out a way to fix it, and it is a way that the Division should use to fix this exact same problem. And this method was Infusion, allowing you to actually take your old weapons and sacrifice newer weapons to infuse them upwards to higher light levels so that they are now amongst the higher light level, higher gear score stuff. Infusion in the Division could and should work the same way. If you have that God roll SMG, you should be able to sacrifice a new higher gear score SMG. Let's say you get a 229 gear score SMG that you don't like at all. Why can't you sacrifice that and increase the gear score of the SMG that you've worked for, that you've grinded for, that you actually like? Now, right now, Destiny has 1-for-1 Infusion, which means that if you sacrifice something with a certain light level, the thing that you're sacrificing it to will increase to that exact same light level. Now, in the Division, this might not work because you're going to be able to get a bunch of, 268 armor and 229 weapons very quickly and infuse your current build up right away, and that's just going to make things a little imbalanced. It's going to make it so that people don't really have a big desire to try out the new stuff. So that is understandable, and trust me guys, I have thought of that. The Division does throw a lot more endgame loot at you than Destiny does. So a solution to this is something that Destiny actually did in the past, where they didn't have one-for-one infusion. So it would work like this. If you have your amazing roll on your 204 SMG in the Division and you got a new 229 SMG that you just really don't like and you want to keep your 204 SMG, you can sacrifice that 229 SMG and raise the gear score of your 204 SMG to, let's say, 210 or 212. It wouldn't raise it all the way to 229. You would still have some work to go. You would actually have to sacrifice 2, maybe 3 229 SMGs to raise the level, to raise the gear score of your current SMG, but it would still give players the option to keep the loot that they actually want to keep, and not force them to abandon what they've worked for. The fact of the matter is that making your current gear irrelevant whenever new content comes out is kind of an old, devious trick done by game developers to force you to play the game more, and it's something that really doesn't need to be done anymore. If the Division devs are adding things like new set armors and new weapons and new perks for those new items, there's enough desire to get the new stuff. Like, people obviously are going to want to try out the new set armors, so why are we doing this super archaic, really old school, cheap tactic of making all of your gear irrelevant overnight when the developers are actually doing all of the right things in terms of DLC and adding new loot that they don't need to resort to doing this? So, in summary, the Division needs to add a mechanic similar to Destiny's Infusion, a process that will let you raise the gear score of your old weapons to give players the option to keep the weapons and armor they actually like, and not have them all become irrelevant overnight. Doing so is something that's very frustrating, it's something that doesn't need to be done, and it's something that will increase the amount of players leaving the game. Players are just going to stop logging back on if the stuff they work so hard for becomes useless every month. And the simple fact of the matter is, Destiny proves that this system, that the Infusion system, is a great idea. The game right now and the loot system right now with Infusion is a vast improvement over the pre-Infusion mechanics. And so it's pretty clear to me that the Division should take a similar approach. Now that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you agree with me and want to see this implemented, you've got to make sure to rate and especially share this video. If you want to see more Division content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.